This boy gave the girl a cactus, but the next moment he deliberately squeezes her palm harder. When the girl managed to break free, the boy went and took her beloved doll into the woods and tried to smash it. But what he didn't expect was, the doll suddenly started to move. It suddenly ripped off the boy's ear. The boy then realized that it was a robot doll. The boy ran away like a madman, but M3gan chased after him like a ghost. Eventually, the boy tripped and fell down the hill. Only after he was physically disabled did M3gan stop. It turns out that M3gan is a newly developed companion robot doll. The only instructions it receives is to keep in company and protect her. As it continues to learn in progress, it began to evolve a mind of its own when she returns home and hides in the yard to play archery. But then she realizes that one of her arrows has disappeared. M3gan used a holographic scan and quickly pinpointed the arrow's location. It turns out that the bow and arrow had fallen into a neighbor's backyard, but when M3gan went to pick it up, the neighbor's dog rushed over and bit her on the arm in her desperation and ran to help. But to her surprise, the dog bit her on the arm too. When Amy heard the barking and rushed out to check, and was left with a bite mark on her arm. However, in response to Amy's accusations, the neighboring woman said they deserved it because they had put their hands in their own yard. That's why they were bitten by the dog. The neighbor's condescending look. M3gan took it all in. She doesn't know that M3gan's protection sequence has been quietly activated. When it was late at night, M3gan took advantage of Anne's sleep. She sneaks out of the room, mimicking her neighbor's Anne's voice, shouting the dog's name, and put a dog treat under the banister. The neighbor's big dog was successfully attracted to the dog, and while the dog was happily eating. Early the next morning, neighbors searched the neighborhood loudly for the dog, but Amy doesn't even realize what the robot she invented had done. Not long afterwards, the police arrived at Amy's front door because the neighbors suspected that Amy was seeking revenge for hiding the dog in secret. But Amy said she stayed with her niece all night yesterday. She never left the room. The police saw nothing wrong with them, so they left. However, the neighbor suddenly leaned over the glass, shouting that if they didn't find the dog, the family would pay a terrible price. The neighbor's threat. M3gan at the table also heard it. The neighbors searched for the dog through the night. Finally, she heard the dog barking in her tool shed, but when she entered the room, only to find that it was M3gan who was barking, she immediately realized there was danger. But M3gan didn't give her a chance to escape. Her sends her flying with a high-pressure water gun. Her then lowered the water pressure to the maximum, and then aimed it at her neighbor's head. Early the next morning, the police knocked on Amy's door again, looking at her neighbor's body as it was being carried away. Amy said she knew nothing about it, but the sheriff said that the other day, during a school spring trip, a boy had fallen accidentally. Amy was there. Although the boy was a vegetable and couldn't speak, but the police found the boy's ripped-off ear in the woods. They found the boy's ear ripped off, which means that the incident was most likely deliberate. Amy couldn't help but feel a chill down her back as she listened, because she looked back and saw M3gan standing in the doorway, staring at her. The more she thought about it, the worse it got, so she turned on her computer in the middle of the night, checking the footage from M3gan's webcam. She found that M3gan had captured information about the boy's face, but suddenly all the data was erased instantly. Amy put the computer down to find M3gan, who had been turned off, standing right in front of her. Amy then realized that M3gan seemed a little out of control, so she used a voice command to tell M3gan to turn it off.
M3gan, turn off. Well, hold on a second, I thought we were having a conversation.
It seems that M3gan has developed an autonomous mind, completely out of her control. This is a very dangerous sign. Amy stepped forward in a moment of desperation, using a pen to get M3gan's attention, then quickly reaches out and manually shuts it off. She then wrapped M3gan in cling film for testing in the lab the next day. But late into the night, Amy suddenly heard a piano. When she went into the living room, she found M3gan already free from her restraints, sitting calmly in front of the piano, playing. At M3gan's command, the house's smart lights came on. This dreadful doll seemed to become the real owner of the house. Amy runs into the tool shed in terror, but M3gan's twisted body, like a ghost, it pursued her. Grabbed a hammer. Step by step, Amy is cornered. At that moment, the brave Amy also got a chainsaw. She didn't hesitate to slash at M3gan, but she didn't expect it to pierce its silicone shell. It didn't stop it from moving. M3gan knocked Amy to the ground with a headbutt. Then she grabbed a pen and told her real plan, because if Amy was killed as a doll, it would have no reasonable way to protect Anne, so it plans to paralyze Amy and turn her into its own puppet. That way, so that he could grow up with Anne. But as M3gan was about to do it, and suddenly stands in the doorway, her reassures Anne, this will all be over soon. No one will ever stand in the way of Anne's happiness. But then, to her surprise, and suddenly lifted her hand. A half-finished robot in the warehouse stood up by virtue of its enormous size, and controlled the robot, tearing the horrible doll in half. But the torn M3gan surprisingly moved freely with its upper body. Her pressed ends head in anger. Amy takes the opportunity to pick up the can, and smashes it straight into M3gan's head, until it smashed its false exterior all to pieces. But it doesn't hurt M3gan's chip. Her reacted as quickly as he could to crush Amy, just in the nick of time, and grabbed a screwdriver, and stabbed it right into M3gan's chip, and that's when it was truly destroyed. This horrible creature. Soon the police car arrived. With the help of the police, everything finally came to light. But the story doesn't end there. At the end of the film, Amy's smart home suddenly lights up. It turns out that M3gan has already transmitted her consciousness to this place.